Right now, an estimated 42.5 million Americans are dealing with an anxiety disorder. That's more than the entire population of California. But what if the root of this issue isn't just in our heads, but in the very way our society and economy are built? Have you ever felt that low humming dread in the back of your mind, even when, on paper, everything seems fine? A feeling that something is fundamentally off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? If so, you're not alone. And it's not just you. The truth is, the reasons for this national anxiety crisis are hiding in plain sight. They're woven into how we work, how we live, and how we talk to each other. Today, we're going to expose the invisible forces that are cranking up the dial on American anxiety. We'll get to the real root causes and, more importantly, lay out a clear path to getting back some control and finding peace in a world that feels increasingly out of control. This isn't just about coping, it's about understanding, because once you understand the game, you can start to change the rules. Before we get into the why, we need to be clear on what we're talking about. This isn't the normal stress before a job interview or the jitters of a looming deadline. Anxiety disorders are the single most common mental health issue in the United States, and they're trending in a scary direction. In a recent poll, 40% of American adults said they felt more anxious than they did last year. That's up from 37% the year before that, and 32% the year before that. It's a runaway train picking up speed. These aren't just abstract numbers. This is nearly half the country feeling a tightness in their chest, a racing in their mind that is actively getting worse. And this feeling isn't spread out evenly. Data shows that women are more likely to be diagnosed with anxiety than men, and certain groups like American Indians and Hispanics report higher rates of anxiety symptoms. What we're seeing is a silent epidemic that goes far beyond simple worry. It's a clinical condition that gets in the way of everyday life, messing with everything from job performance to personal relationships. Social anxiety disorder alone affects millions of American adults, with many people suffering for a decade or more before ever asking for help. Think about that. A whole decade spent afraid of being judged, a decade of missed connections and lost opportunities. Then, the pandemic threw gasoline on the fire. Between 2019 and 2020, the percentage of adults reporting symptoms of anxiety and depression shot up from around 11% to a shocking 40%. And while things have leveled off a bit, we haven't gone back to a pre-pandemic normal. It's more like our collective baseline for anxiety has been permanently cranked up a few notches. So, what are the knobs being turned? You'll find the answer in the blueprint of modern American life. Let's start with one of the biggest and most constant sources of anxiety in America today: money. This isn't about greed, it's about survival. A recent APA poll found that the economy is a significant source of stress for 73% of adults. Other surveys show that over half of Americans worry about their finances daily. For many, this isn't just a background hum, it's a constant worry. This is what we call financial anxiety, and it's basically a public health issue. It's that knot in your stomach when you see the grocery receipt. It's the sleepless nights wondering how you'd cover a surprise car repair or medical bill. A recent survey found 34% of Americans report losing sleep over money worries. The heart of this anxiety is a growing sense of instability. The American dream was supposed to be a simple deal: work hard and you'll get ahead. But for millions, that deal feels broken. We're living in an economy where job security feels like a lottery ticket, wages are stuck in molasses while inflation runs wild, and the costs of essentials like housing, healthcare, and education are just spiraling. 1/3 of Americans say the sheer cost of healthcare hurts their mental health. This creates a brutal psychological trap. You feel anxious because of money pressure, but the cost of getting help for that anxiety is just another financial burden. It's a vicious cycle. Imagine a young couple, both working full-time, who dream of buying a house. They save every penny, but every month, home prices in their area climb faster than their savings account. Their rent goes up, their student loan payments are always there, and that dream of stability starts to feel like a complete fantasy. This isn't a personal failure. It's the result of a system where the goalposts are always moving. This constant grinding pressure just to keep your head above water is a powerful engine for chronic anxiety. It seeps into your thoughts, shapes your decisions, and slowly eats away at your sense of hope. It turns the future from a landscape of possibility into a minefield of what-ifs. Humans are social animals. We're hardwired for connection, community, and a sense of belonging. But the way American society is structured today systematically starves us of these things. We are, ironically, becoming more isolated in a world that's more connected than ever. The pandemic definitely sped things up, forcing us into a social hibernation that, for many, never fully ended. But the fire was already smoldering. For decades, community hangouts, local clubs, neighborhood groups, bowling leagues, places of worship have been disappearing. These were the places where people built trust, found support, and felt like they were part of something bigger. With them gone, many of us are just left feeling adrift. In their place, we have a culture that celebrates radical individualism. The message is loud and clear. You're on your own. Your success is yours, but so is your failure. This creates this insane pressure to project an image of perfect success and a never let them see you sweat attitude at all times. We feel like we have to perform, to curate an image of a perfect life, while we hide all the messy, vulnerable, and anxious parts of ourselves. This pressure gets magnified to an insane degree by social media, which we'll get to in a minute. But the real problem is that we're living in a world that practically demands we be fake. We're pushed to build a personal brand instead of just being a person. This gap, this canyon between who we really are and who we feel we have to be, is a huge source of anxiety. It creates a deep-seated loneliness, the kind you can feel even when you're in a room full of people. Social anxiety disorder often starts to show up around age 13, right when the pressure to fit in is at its absolute worst. For many, this fear of being judged doesn't just go away. It becomes a chronic condition that follows them into adulthood, making every social interaction feel like a high-stakes performance. This isn't just being shy, it's a crippling fear that can stop someone from chasing a career, building relationships, or just living a full life. The rise of this disorder is a clear symptom of a society that has traded real connection for curated performance. I want to pause here and ask, have you ever felt that pressure? The pressure to always be on, to hide that you're struggling, or that quiet loneliness that comes from feeling disconnected? If you're comfortable, share a thought in the comments. I think you'll realize just how many people are feeling the exact same thing. It's a powerful reminder that you are not in this fight alone. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The one in your pocket, in your hand, and in front of your face right now. Technology. Specifically social media and the 24/7 internet. These tools were sold to us as a way to connect, to share information, and to make life easier. And they have, in some ways. But they've also opened a Pandora's box of new anxieties we're just now starting to figure out. First, there's the comparison trap. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok aren't reality, they're highlight reels. They feed us a non-stop stream of perfectly polished images of success, beauty, and happiness. We know it's not real, but our subconscious brain can't help but compare. This constant keeping up with the Joneses on a global scale can lead to a warped body image, a sense of inadequacy, and the nagging feeling that your own life just doesn't measure up. Then there's the addictive design. These platforms are engineered to hijack our attention. Every like, share, and notification is a little dopamine hit designed to keep you scrolling. This isn't a lack of willpower on your part. It's a feature, not a bug. And this addiction has real consequences. It messes with our sleep, kills our attention spans, and pulls us away from the real world. Studies show that adolescents who spend a lot of time on social media are more likely to have mental health issues. We're swapping deep, real interactions for shallow, digital ones, and we're feeling lonelier because of it. On top of that, the digital world has become a landscape of non-stop outrage and fear. The 24/7 news cycle, supercharged by algorithms that favor sensationalism, floods us with a relentless stream of crises and catastrophes. Our brains didn't evolve to process the entire world's suffering every single minute. This constant exposure, known as doom scrolling, keeps our nervous systems on high alert, feeding a general sense of anxiety and helplessness. Finally, there's the fear of the technology itself. Worries about jobs being automated, our personal data being stolen, and the toxic online political arguments all add to the stress. The digital divide also creates anxiety. Not having reliable internet can be a barrier to education, healthcare, and jobs, making life even harder for already stressed communities. The very tools that promise to bring us together have, in many ways, pushed us apart and turned up the volume on our deepest insecurities. After digging into all these deep, systemic reasons for our anxiety, it's easy to feel pretty helpless. But this is the turning point. Understanding the problem is the first and most powerful step toward fixing it. We can't single-handedly fix the economy or redesign the internet, but we can change our relationship with these stressors. We can reclaim our own minds, and that starts with simple, practical steps. First and foremost, take care of your body. Your mental and physical health are two sides of the same coin. Regular exercise is a powerful anxiety killer. You don't need to run a marathon. A brisk 30-minute walk a few times a week can make a huge difference by boosting feel-good chemicals in your brain. What you eat matters too. A balanced diet can support brain health, while cutting back on things like caffeine and alcohol can keep from making anxiety worse. And maybe the most underrated tool of all is sleep. Our bodies need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep to repair and regulate. Skimping on sleep is like pouring fuel on an anxious fire, so making a consistent sleep routine a priority is non-negotiable. Beyond the physical, there are powerful mental tools. Mindfulness and meditation aren't just trendy buzzwords. They are science-backed ways to calm a frantic mind. Simple deep breathing exercises can, in just a few minutes, hit the brakes on an anxious spiral. The goal isn't to silence anxious thoughts, but to learn how to watch them float by without getting swept away by the current. You can find guided meditations on apps, try yoga, or just take a few moments to focus on your breath. Finally, it's critical to spot and limit negative coping habits. Turning to alcohol, nicotine, or other substances might feel like a quick fix, but they usually make anxiety worse in the long run. Instead, find healthy outlets. Start a journal to figure out your anxiety triggers. Rediscover a hobby that fully absorbs your attention and brings you joy. These actions aren't a magic cure, but they are your frontline defense. They build resilience and give you a solid foundation to start tackling the bigger picture. Individual strategies are crucial, but they're only half the story. Real, lasting change means we have to address the systemic problems we've been talking about. We have to recognize that healing from this anxiety epidemic is a team sport, not a solo journey. One of the most powerful antidotes to anxiety is connection. Don't let your worries push you into isolation. Make a real effort to connect with friends and family. Talk to them about what you're feeling. You'll probably be surprised to find out they feel the same way. Sharing that vulnerability can lift a huge weight and remind you that you have a support system. If you feel like your immediate circle isn't enough, think about finding a support group, either in person or online, where you can connect with people who get it. We also need to be advocates for better systems. This means supporting things that make mental health care easier to get. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a huge step forward, offering immediate, free support. The growth of telehealth can also close some gaps, but we have to make sure it's accessible to everyone. Learning about your own anxiety is also a form of power. Understand your specific triggers. If you get a diagnosis, stick with your treatment plan, whether that's therapy, medication, or both. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is a very effective therapy that teaches you practical skills to manage your thoughts and behaviors. Don't ever be afraid to seek professional help. It's a sign of strength, not weakness. And finally, we have to consciously manage our information diet. You have the power to turn off the fire hose of negativity. Set specific limited times to check the news and social media. Unfollow accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. Be ruthless in protecting your mental space. Your attention is one of your most valuable resources. You get to decide where you spend it. The anxiety so many Americans are feeling is not a personal failure. It's a completely rational response to a set of irrational circumstances. It's the logical outcome of an economic system that puts profits over people, a social structure that values performance over connection, and a digital world that profits from our outrage and insecurity. If this video gave you a new way to think about anxiety, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of our modern world. And more importantly, share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Let's keep this conversation going in the comments. What is one step you can take this week to reclaim a little piece of your peace? Thanks for watching.